Sometimes, when the world feels like it's crashing down, when every door seems to slam shut, and even the people closest to us fail to understand the storm inside our hearts, a single cry escapes the soul. Please Allah, help me, I'm in trouble. That cry, though filled with pain, is a powerful reminder that we still believe. We still know that above the clouds, above the chaos, there is one who hears even the silent whisper of a shattered heart. Trouble in life is not a sign that Allah is angry with you. It is not always a punishment. In fact, sometimes it's His most loving way of drawing you closer to Him. When things are easy, we often forget. But when things are hard, our hands tremble in dua, our eyes weep in sujood, and our hearts break only to find peace in His name. When a person faces hardship, the natural human instinct is to seek a way out, to escape, to find a solution. People run to all sorts of things. Some turn to people for support. Some immerse themselves in distractions. And some even fall into sinful behavior as a way of numbing their pain. But among all these choices, there is one that carries unimaginable peace, one that brings with it true hope and healing, turning to Allah. This is not just an act of desperation, but an act of strength. It is a realization that no matter how complex the problem may seem, no matter how dark the night gets, there is a Lord who is closer to us than our own jugular vein, and He has power over all things. Turning to Allah is not a last resort. It is the first step to real recovery. But sometimes we are so immersed in the chaos of our lives that we forget who is in control. We get so busy trying to fix everything with our limited strength that we ignore the one who never tires. When a person finally lifts their hands and says, "Oh Allah, I need you," that's not a sign of weakness. That's the moment of true empowerment. Because when you depend on yourself, your capacity will eventually run out. But when you rely on Allah, you're relying on the one who has no limits, no barriers, no weaknesses. In moments of trouble, there is a special type of sincerity that pours out of the heart. It's raw, it's real, and it is beloved to Allah. Sometimes you may not even know what to say. You might just repeat His name over and over again, with tears falling silently from your eyes. And that alone can be the most powerful supplication. The one who created your voice understands the words you cannot form. The one who shaped your heart understands the emotions you can't explain. And the one who placed your soul in your body knows exactly what it needs to be healed. Look at how the prophets turned to Allah in their darkest hours. Yunus, when he was swallowed by the whale, didn't have a grand dua filled with poetry. He simply said, "La ilaha illa anta, subhanaka, inni kuntu min az-zalimin." There is no deity except you. Glory be to you. Indeed, I was from the wrongdoers. That was it. He recognized his own weakness and affirmed the greatness of his Lord. And in return, Allah rescued him in the most miraculous way. Why? Because turning to Allah sincerely, even with a simple few words, is more powerful than turning to the whole world with long speeches. Musa, standing at the edge of the sea with Pharaoh and his army behind him, didn't panic. His people were afraid, but he said with full confidence, "Indeed, my Lord is with me, He will guide me." That is what it means to turn to Allah. It means you face the biggest challenges with the firm belief that the one who brought you here will not abandon you. He will either part the sea or give you the strength to swim across it, but He will never leave you to drown. Turning to Allah is not just about making dua. It's about realigning your entire outlook. It's about recognizing that the control you thought you had over your life was always limited. It's about realizing that your problems were never bigger than your Lord. They just seemed that way because you tried to face them alone. And it's about surrendering, not in defeat, but in trust. You say to Him, "I can't do this without you," and He responds by carrying you through it in ways you never imagined. Sometimes Allah allows everything around you to fall apart, so you'll be forced to turn back to Him. It may feel like you're being broken, but in reality you're being rebuilt. You're being brought back to your real purpose. You're being reminded of who you truly are, a servant of the Most Merciful, and a servant who bows down to his Lord is never humiliated. Even in hardship, he is honored. The more you turn to Allah, the more you will taste a type of peace that this world can never offer. The chaos may remain around you, but inside your heart, there will be calm. That calm comes from knowing that you're not walking alone, that your prayers are being heard, that your tears are being counted, and that your trust in Allah will never be wasted. Now, when trials come, and they will, it's crucial to understand that they are not random, they are not meaningless. They are not punishments unless you know you've done something wrong and continue to ignore the call to return. In many cases, trials are purification. They are Allah's way of polishing your heart. Just like fire purifies gold. When gold is put into fire, it burns, it bubbles, it melts, but it comes out purer, more valuable. And that's exactly what happens to the heart of a believer who is patient through trials. Your test is meant to elevate you, not destroy you. Allah already knows your strength. He doesn't test you to discover something about you. He tests you so you discover something about yourself, something you didn't even know you had. Patience, resilience, faith, sincerity. These qualities grow inside you like roots during the storm. They don't show immediately, but with time you'll realize that the hardship was the soil in which your faith was planted deeper. It's also important to remember that your hardship is measured perfectly by the one who knows you better than you know yourself. He knows when to ease and when to press. He knows when to withhold and when to grant. And He knows what you need for your soul, even when all you can think about is what you want for your body. Sometimes what looks like a delay is actually protection. What feels like loss is actually preparation. And what seems like punishment is actually the greatest mercy just dressed in disguise. Many people want ease without effort, but that's not how growth works. You don't build muscle without resistance. You don't build character without pressure. And you don't build faith without struggle. Every hardship you endure while turning to Allah is rewarded not just with ease in this life, but with blessings in the next. The Prophet ﷺ said that the people who were tested the most in this world will be the most rewarded in the hereafter. And some of them will say on the Day of Judgment, I wish I had been tested even more so I could have earned even more reward. That's not because they enjoyed the pain. It's because they saw what that pain turned into mountains of reward, rivers of peace and closeness to their Lord that no comfort ever gave them in this world. When you're going through hardship, don't ask, why me? Ask, what does Allah want me to learn from this? Ask, how can I use this pain to become closer to my Lord? Because that's the real purpose. The test is not just about the situation, it's about your response. Will you complain or be patient? Will you turn away or turn back to Allah? Will you give up or grow? Some of the greatest blessings are born out of the worst trials. Look at how a broken heart can lead to a sincere prayer. Look at how being abandoned by people can push you to seek Allah more deeply. Look at how losing something in this world can make you long for the akhirah in a way you never did before. Trouble has a way of stripping away the false attachments, the illusions of control, and the distractions that kept you away from your purpose. What's left is you and your Lord, and that's when real healing begins. There are times when Allah will test you with something you've been trying to avoid your whole life. A fear, a loss, a painful truth, and He will place it directly in your path. Not to hurt you, but to free you from the grip it had on your soul. Because when you learn to rely on Him through that pain, you become stronger than it. You rise above it. And you begin to see that the test wasn't meant to break you, it was meant to wake you up. Allah doesn't want to see you suffer endlessly. But He wants to see you return to Him with a heart that is humble, clean and alive. And sometimes that heart can only be softened by tears. Sometimes the most stubborn pride can only be removed by struggle. And sometimes your greatest spiritual awakening can only happen after your greatest worldly disappointment. So don't resent the trouble that led you to Allah. Don't hate the hardship that made you raise your hands and cry for the first time in years. Don't curse the night that forced you to pray when you had no one else left to turn to. Because in those moments, you found something priceless. You found your Lord. And once you've tasted the sweetness of turning to Him in sincere need, you'll never look for peace anywhere else. Even after the trouble passes and it will continue to turn to Him, don't only remember Him in your pain and forget Him in your ease. Let the connection you built in the darkness carry into the light. Let the habits you developed in hardship remain part of your life in ease. Because the one who helped you through the storm is the same one who can bless your days with peace. And even if you're still waiting, even if the storm hasn't passed yet, even if the nights are still long, and the weight is still heavy, just remember your prayer is not lost, your patience is not ignored. Your tears are not wasted. Allah is never unaware of what you're going through. And your reward is guaranteed not just in this life, but in a life that is eternal. When life becomes difficult and the heart begins to tremble from the weight of hardship, a person instinctively looks around for comfort, for support, for someone to lean on. It's natural to turn to people, to friends, family, even strangers, with the hope that they will lift the burden, ease the pain, or at least understand the anguish we're carrying. But sooner or later, most people discover that not everyone can or will carry your pain with you. Some people are simply unable to help. Others might be too distracted by their own lives to notice. And sometimes, the very people we trust the most are the ones who let us down. That's one of the hardest lessons a human being can learn, that people might fail you, but Allah never will. It hurts when someone you love turns their back on you. It stings when someone you've always supported walks away when you need them the most. It feels crushing when you expect comfort and receive silence instead. But this emotional pain, while heavy, has a hidden wisdom. It gently or sometimes harshly redirects your heart toward the only one who is always present, always listening, and always capable of helping, Allah. Allah never promised that people would be perfect. He never told us that the ones we love would always stand by our side. In fact, part of His wisdom is allowing people to disappoint us, so that we learn to stop depending entirely on them and start depending fully on Him. The more a person leans on people, the more fragile they become, because people are not built to carry our emotional baggage, our hopes, our dreams, and our fears all at once. But Allah is. He is Al-Wakil, the disposer of affairs. He is Al-Latif, the most gentle. He is Ar-Rahman, the most merciful. And He never leaves a believer who calls upon Him sincerely without a response. When people fail you, you might start questioning yourself. You might think, am I not good enough? Why didn't they help me? What did I do wrong? But this cycle of blame only leads to more sadness. What truly matters is not whether people stood by you, but whether you stood firm in your connection with your Lord. He sees your pain, even when others overlook it. He hears your cries, even when you hide them from the world. And He understands your heart, even when you don't have the words to express what you're going through. There are moments in life when your heart will break not once but many times. And with each break you will realize something deeper, that no one can truly heal you except the one who created you. You can sit with someone for hours, pour out your emotions, cry into their shoulder, and still walk away feeling empty. But one sincere prostration, one deep whisper to your Lord, and you feel a peace that words can't describe. That's because Allah responds not just to what you say, but to what you feel. He responds to your need before you even realize how desperately you need Him. Consider the story of Yusuf. He was betrayed by his own brothers, thrown into a well, sold into slavery, wrongfully imprisoned, and forgotten by those who promised to help. At every turn he had reason to lose hope in people, but he never lost hope in Allah. He turned to Him in the well, in the palace, in the prison, and in the throne room, and at every stage Allah elevated him. He allowed people to fail Yusuf so that Yusuf would never become attached to them. Instead, his heart remained attached to the one who never breaks promises. Even the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the most beloved to Allah, experienced this reality. His own tribe rejected him. People mocked him, hurt him, and turned against him. At the most critical moment, after preaching for years, his beloved uncle Abu Talib passed away without accepting Islam. His wife Khadija, his greatest supporter, also passed away. He went to Ta'if seeking help, and instead they pelted him with stones until his blessed feet bled. If anyone had the right to feel abandoned by people, it was him. But even then he turned to his Lord with words of humility, hope, and submission. He never said, "Why me?" He said, "If you are not angry with me, then I do not mind." That's the level of faith that hardship cultivates, when you realize that as long as Allah is with you, nothing else matters. The world could reject you, people could fail you, plans could collapse. But if your connection with your Creator is intact, you will be unshakable, because His support is not like the support of people. When people help, they have limits. Their energy runs out, their understanding falls short, their ability to be there 24/7 is impossible. But Allah, He is available to you at every second of every day, without condition, without delay, without limits. Sometimes we ask people for something, a favor, some time, a little care, and they either can't or won't give it. But when you ask Allah, He gives you more than you asked for, more than you imagined, and more than you even knew you needed. Sometimes we try to explain ourselves to people, to convince them of our worth, our pain, or our sincerity. But with Allah, no explanation is needed. He knows your intention. He sees your heart. He knows your struggle even when you don't speak about it. It's in those moments of isolation when people turn away that Allah often pulls you toward Him. He empties your hands so you'll raise them to Him. He silences the world around you so you'll finally hear His words. And He removes your worldly attachments so you can finally feel the sweetness of depending solely on Him. That's not a punishment. That's a gift in disguise. If every person supported you but Allah was displeased with you, what benefit would that bring? But if every person turned away from you, yet Allah loved you and supported you, what harm could ever touch you? This is why some of the most beloved people to Allah were tested the most. Their trials were not signs of abandonment, they were signs of elevation. They were purified, refined and raised in rank, not because people celebrated them, but because Allah honored them. This life is temporary, and so are the people in it. Attach your heart to anything temporary and you'll always fear loss, but attach it to the eternal and you'll never be afraid again. Let every disappointment remind you to look higher. Let every heartbreak push you to make sujood. Let every moment of being forgotten by people become a moment of being remembered by Allah. Because in the end, it won't matter who supported you, who applauded you, or who ignored you. What will matter is who you turn to when the world seemed too heavy to carry. If the answer is Allah, then you've already succeeded. He is the one who never fails, never forgets, never abandons. The one who always listens, always understands, and always gives sometimes what you asked for, and sometimes something far better. Dua is one of the most intimate and profound acts of worship. It is not simply a ritual where you repeat words with the expectation of instant results. It is not a vending machine where you insert a request and expect a guaranteed product. It is a conversation, a direct, personal, and beautiful connection between the servant and the master. When a person makes dua, they are not just requesting something from Allah. They are engaging in a moment of divine communication that can reshape their soul, soften their heart, and realign their purpose. In our world today, many people approach dua with a transactional mindset. They think, I made dua for something, I didn't get it. That means it didn't work. But dua is not a transaction that ends when the request is fulfilled or denied. Dua is a process. It's an act of returning, of remembering, of humbling oneself before the one who owns the heavens and the earth. It's a way of expressing both our need and our love. A person might not realize it, but the moment they raise their hands and say, Ya Allah, is already a moment of success. Because they have just acknowledged the source of all help, the controller of all affairs, and the only one who never tires of being asked. When someone is in difficulty and they cry out to Allah, they are not losing anything. Even if their situation doesn't change immediately, they are gaining something even greater. They are connecting to their Lord. They are admitting that they cannot do it alone. They are admitting that the help of people has limits, but the help of Allah is infinite. And that connection, even if it doesn't bring the exact result a person wants, is never wasted. It becomes a light in their heart, a means of tranquility, and a pathway to blessings they didn't even ask for. The Prophet ﷺ taught us that no dua goes unanswered. Either Allah gives you exactly what you asked for, or He delays it because the timing is better, or He replaces it with something better in this life or the next, or He removes a calamity that was about to fall upon you. So in all cases, a sincere dua is never lost. But the one who treats dua like a demand and then walks away when they don't see results is missing the point. They are not really making dua, they are making a complaint. They are not turning to Allah out of love and trust, but out of frustration and impatience. That is not the spirit of dua. True dua is an act of surrender. It is not about presenting Allah with a list of demands. It is about pouring your heart out and saying, you know what I need more than I do. You know what is best for me even when I don't understand. You know my weakness, my fear, my hopes and my flaws, and yet you still allow me to speak to you. That level of humility is what makes dua so powerful. It's not about the words. It's about the heart behind those words. Some of the most powerful du'as are the ones made in silence, in tears, in prostration, not because they follow a specific formula, but because they come from a place of sincerity. When your heart is broken and your voice is trembling, and you still say, Ya Allah, I trust you, that is a du'a that shakes the heavens. Angels are recording it. Your Lord is listening. And even if the world sees nothing change, something inside you has already transformed. Dua is also not limited to times of hardship. Many people only remember to make dua when they are in pain. But the most beautiful relationship with Allah is when a person makes dua in both hardship and ease. When things are going well, they still turn to Allah and say thank you. They still ask for guidance, protection, and continued blessings. They don't forget the one who gave them everything in the first place. That type of dua is not a reaction to suffering, it is a lifestyle of worship. Dua is also a means of protecting your heart from arrogance. It reminds you that no matter how strong, intelligent, or wealthy you become, you are still in need of your Creator. It reminds you that your plans are limited, but His knowledge is perfect. It reminds you that your success is not from your own effort alone, but from His mercy. The one who makes dua regularly is someone who understands their true position not as an independent being, but as a humble servant. There is also a sweetness in repeated duas. Sometimes you ask for the same thing day after day and it doesn't come. But through that repetition, something else is happening. Your relationship with Allah is growing. Your patience is increasing. Your trust is being strengthened. You are proving through your persistence that you are not giving up, and Allah loves that. He loves the servant who keeps coming back. He doesn't get tired of hearing your voice, even if you ask for the same thing 1,000 times. In fact, sometimes Allah withholds something just so you will keep turning to Him, because the dua itself is more valuable for your soul than the thing you are asking for. And if you receive the blessing too quickly, maybe you would forget to keep making dua. But through the delay, your heart stays close, your tongue stays wet with remembrance. Your soul stays humble and hopeful. And eventually, you realize that even before your dua was answered, you were already being blessed. So when you find yourself crying, broken, uncertain, don't just say, please, Allah, help me, with fear. Say it with hope. Because the one you are calling upon is Ar-Rahman, the most merciful, Al-Wakil, the best disposer of affairs, Al-Fatah, the opener of doors you never imagined. You may be in trouble, but you are not abandoned. The one who allowed the storm is the one who will send the ship. Hold on, help is near. And even if the world doesn't understand your pain, the Lord of the worlds always will.